In the year 2024, Universal Orlando Resort would host its popular marquee event, Halloween Horror Nights, now entering its 33rd year. This iteration of the premier Halloween event will see a new collection of offerings, filled with terrifying haunted houses and scare zones, as well as exhilarating entertainment to die for. You will never feel more alive at Halloween Horror Nights 33 because this is where horror lives. Development for the 33rd Halloween Horror Nights would begin immediately after the previous year's event, as Universal Creative would begin to concoct all new experiences to fright and delight guests wishing to experience the famed Halloween event. This year would continue the replicated formula that has proved to be so successful for the event, surrounding their offerings around popular horror intellectual properties and new original concepts. But to usher in the terror to the event, an all-new backstory would be created for this year's offerings, setting the atmosphere for the brave souls who would venture into these wicked worlds. The backstory would be centered around two evil entities, serving as the event's icons to ring in all the horror, as it would be called sinister and surreal. It's explained that for the past 33 years, the thousands of screams of all who have attended Halloween Horror Nights have been collected below the surface of Universal Orlando, creating a monstrous manifestation of true horror that now to be unleashed to the surface. With its release, it would tear a rift between our world and the vast universe of horror beyond our own, all being led by the new icons as they would rule over two distinct hellscapes within this universe. Sinister's realm would be the manifestation of physical pain, as torture and mutilation would be their specialty, making it very difficult to leave in one piece. On the other side would be Surreal's realm, where the manifestation of psychological torment would exist, plaguing guests who enter to face their deepest fears. Sinister and Surreal's realms would form this year's Scare Zone offerings, as it would include the Demented icons as they herald all the terror inside. Though Sinister and Surreal served as the icons within the park, they would not be seen through any of the marketing, as they would use another figure to promote the event. The figure would be referred to as Otis, and it's explained to be an interdimensional portal being that would bring guests into the hellish realms that the icons reign within. But like every year, the event would heavily promote its marquee haunted houses, as they would be themed towards today's popular horror intellectual properties. One of them would see a new offering being based off the sci-fi horror franchise, A Quiet Place. Others to be included would see returning offerings such as Ghostbusters and Insidious. With that, Halloween Horror Nights 33 would run for another 48 nights from between August to November, starting earlier than ever before. However, some nights of the event will be canceled due to the park closing for Hurricane Helene and Milton, impacting the state. Regardless, the event would consist of 10 haunted houses, 5 scare zones, and 1 show, as guests get to enter a sick universe of terror and experience where horror lives. The 10 haunted houses of the 2024 Halloween Horror Nights would continue to be a combination of IP-themed houses and horrific original concepts. The first house would be placed inside Soundstage 23 and be an original concept featuring terrifying Latin American urban legends, as it would be titled Monstruos, the Monsters of Latin America. First being featured at the 2023 Universal Studios Hollywood event, guests entering would be guided by El Muerte as they experience 3 horrifying legends, Gualambuchi, La Lechuza, and El Zibon, as they stalk all about, creating the ultimate nightmare. The house would recreate scenes from the Hollywood version, expanding upon the sets within. The next house would be inside Soundstage 22 and be based on the popular sci-fi horror film franchise, A Quiet Place, sharing the same name. Within, Guests would get to experience the events of the first two films as they followed the Abbott family as they tried to survive in a world filled with deadly alien creatures who prey on the sound of their victims, leaving anyone around with one rule: stay quiet. This house would consist of unique elements as the actors inside would incorporate American Sign Language to tell the story, but also the sound design of the house would be a very important element as it created a very unnerving atmosphere inside as silence was the true monster. The third house of the event would be inside Soundstage 23 and be another IP-themed experience based off the 2024 film Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, maintaining the same title. Here, guests enter the world of this iteration's paranormal fighting group as they face off against the ghostly monster Garaka, as they unleash their army of frightening ghosts upon everyone who enters, trying to escape unfrozen. The following house would be within Soundstage 24 and be the second iteration of an offering based off the popular horror film franchise Insidious, as this version would be called Insidious: The Further. Inside, guests return to the Further, the sinister realm where the demons from all 5 films reside as they haunt all within, looking to make everyone a forever part of the eternal hell. Insidious: The Further would win House of the Year for 2024. The fifth house would also be inside Soundstage 24 and be an original concept featuring a group of serial killer siblings, as it would be titled Triplets of Terror. Within here, guests follow the killings of the Barmy triplets, maniacal siblings who have a sick 10-year tradition recreating their 9th birthday party, where they killed their own family, inflicting the same grotesque actions upon others as they invite guests to be a part of their gross celebration. The next house of the event would be located within the Fast and Furious Supercharged queue and serve as a prequel to the 2022 scare zone Sweet Revenge, as it would be called Major Sweets Candy Factory. Taking place mere hours before the events of the 2022 scare zone, guests serve as chaperones for the Progress County School District as they visit Major Sweets Candy Factory. However, this is not a normal school trip, as the children have been made into test subjects for Major Sweet's secret formula, turning them into rabid sugar-crazed fiends, killing all about. The next 2 houses would be located in all new locations, as Universal would build another set of hurricane-proof tent structures to contain their elaborate horror experiences. With that, the 7th haunted house of the event would be located in Sprung Tent 3 and feature an all-new original story revolving around the Universal classic monsters, as this iteration would be titled Universal Monsters: Eternal Bloodlines. Inside, guests find themselves in the middle of an epic battle with Saskia, daughter of Abraham Van Helsing, teaming up with the Bride of Frankenstein as they face off against Mara, daughter of Count Dracula, the she-wolf of London, and other evil forces as they seek revenge against each other, leaving blood and destruction throughout. The following house would be located in Sprung Tent 4 and be an original concept set in a goblin village, as it would be called Goblin's Feast. Within here, guests venture into a village full of inviting goblins and orcs as they celebrate their annual tradition, Goblin's Feast, where the main course is the unlucky humans who stumbled into their homes, and now guests look to escape the grasp of these hungry monsters. The 9th house would be located inside Sprung Tent 2 and be a sequel to the 2018 haunted house Slaughter Cinema, as this iteration would be titled Slaughter Cinema 2. Being in a similar vein as the original house, this version would bring a new batch of horror B movies for guests to experience, as monsters and maniacs confess throughout, looking to make you the star of the show. The house contained many Easter eggs from past events and retired Universal attractions. The final house of the event would be inside Sprung Tent 1 and be an original concept set in a possessed museum, as it would be called the Museum Deadly Exhibits. Inside here, Guests enter the Museum of International Folklore as they set to debut their newest exhibit, the Rotting Stone. However, this unleashes havoc upon the other exhibits as now all the inanimate objects inside are possessed and seek to destroy anything in its path. This would be the complete haunted house lineup for Halloween Horror Nights 33, as it would create elaborate immersive environments and terrifying experiences. As previously mentioned, this year's scare zones would mostly be centered around the event's icons, Sinister and Surreal, as their rounds would reign over the streets, causing chaos throughout. The first scare zone would be located in the front lot of the park and be the gateway of evil to this year's event, as it would be called Duality of Fear. Here, Sinister and Surreal would welcome guests in, as they persuade them to choose their respective paths of pain and suffering. The second scare zone would be placed within the New York area and be Sinister's Demented Renaissance Fair, as it would be called Torture Fair. Here, Sinister would host the most grotesque festival ever, as maniacal torture enthusiasts roam the streets with their medieval torture devices, looking to create the most painful display of fear. In original plans for the event, this scare zone would be set to be themed towards the Devil Dog segment from the 2018 Haunted House Slaughter Cinema, but due to budgetary reasons, it would be altered. The next zone would be located in the San Francisco area and feature the most terrifying characters from Blumhouse Productions, as it would be called Enter the Blumhouse. Here, guests go face to face with the horror film studio's evil creations as they seek all new victims to be a part of their world. The fourth scare zone would be placed in the Central Park area and be themed towards a zombie-filled swamp, as it would be called Swamp of the Undead. Here, guests find themselves in the backwaters of Louisiana, where many vengeful zombies have risen from the depths, looking to make any trespassers one with their eternal hell. The final scare zone of the event would be located inside the Hollywood area of the park and be Surreal's Demented Hellscape, as it would be called Demon Queens. Here, guests are plunged into the darkest corner of their minds, where Surreal reigns supreme, and now they release their demon queens to lay waste to the weak-minded. The last offering to be included at this year's event would be located inside the former Fear Factor live stage and be the fourth iteration of the show, Halloween Nightmare Fuel, as this version would be titled Nightmare Fuel Nocturnal Circus. This year's offering would continue the same elements from previous shows, including eccentric dancing, pyrotechnics, and exhilarating music. This would be the entire lineup for the 2025 Halloween Horror Nights event, including terrifying scare zones and excellent entertainment. In totality, Halloween Horror Nights 33 would be a solid addition to the premier Halloween event's history, as it would create unforgettable, terrifying experiences for all guests to enjoy. But with Sinister and Surreal returning below the depths of Universal Orlando, the Halloween season would end, waiting to return the following year as true fear would become alive.